Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. Wilma Franco, Executive Director of the Southeast LA Collaborative. This is our fourth conversation around some of the campaign that we shared with you a few months back, our SELA region. The focus of our campaign is really to highlight the impact that nonprofits and cities are having here in the Southeast region. Part of this effort for us is really highlighting some of the positive work that's taking place that oftentimes we don't hear about. So we wanted to really kind of emphasize the impact, but also the role and how these collaborations have come to part. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, our SELA Collaborative, we're a network of organizations working here in the Southeast to really uplift community, but also to support our nonprofit sector as we continue to uplift the region as a whole. So we're excited today because we actually get to talk about two pillars that are fundamental to the SELA Collaborative: civic engagement and nonprofit capacity. And our first segment is going to focus today on the City of Cudahy and Cudahy Youth Foundation. So before we get started with our panelists who have joined us here, we want to share a little bit more about their story. So we'll cue the video.
Cudahy is one of the smallest cities in the SELA region. In fact, Cudahy is the second smallest city in LA County with one of the highest population densities of any incorporated city in LA. The city was founded on November 20th, 1960 and is located next to the LA River and the 710 freeway.
The Cudahy Youth Foundation was established in 1998. It is one of the few nonprofits located here. They've been helping our community for more than 20 years.
Our foundation focuses on helping youth and their families. We provide financial aid as well as food supplies to the youth residents of Cudahy. We are developing partnerships with other groups and organizations to provide our community with more opportunities.
Our mission at the Cudahy Youth Foundation is to assist disadvantaged families with the opportunity to have their children engage in sports and creative programs.
At the Cudahy Youth Foundation, our work is volunteer-led. Our board members and volunteers find creative ways to help our community.
Some of the previous events we have done here at the Cudahy Youth Foundation are the following.
We have supplied our elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools with 200 Mesoamerican books in order to enrich their heritage culture.
We also held a Thanksgiving dinner giveaway and served 60 complete meals for our youth and their families.
Most of our youth live in multi-family homes where space is limited, but with our space-saving desks, our students can now have a desk area to focus on and study. We provided these to 12 of our youth.
Many of our families here in Cudahy have not had the financial means to buy a Christmas tree this year. With the help of our volunteers, we have given them 60 artificial trees, giving some of our youth their very first Christmas tree.
We've also held car shows and toy drives where we had the chance to give our youth over 250 toys.
We must continue to provide civic education to encourage civic engagement and deepen communities' agency to serve, protect, and take care of their neighborhoods. The city of Cudahy is a working-class community where our youth need sports and creative programs.
With the Cudahy Youth Foundation, we've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of youth over our 20 years of service.
We will continue our efforts in helping the youth and the families of Cudahy
by providing financial help for creative programs and food supplies for years to come.
If you'd like to learn more about the Cudahy Youth Foundation, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cudahy Youth Foundation and on Instagram at instagram.com/Cudahy Youth Foundation. You can also discover more about the SELA agenda at selacollab.org.
We hope you enjoyed that video. We're actually want to thank you for joining us here today to our panelists. We're so excited because this first segment is going to focus on the city of Cudahy, but also really highlighting the importance of civic engagement and engaging community, right, through different aspects in your community, but also just really learning about the work that you're all leading together. So we'll start with you. If we can just do a round of introductions, if you tell us your name, title, and a little bit about you.
Well, I'm Susie de Santiago. I'm the president of the Cudahy Youth Foundation, and I'm a mother of 7 kids. I'm also a former Parks and Recreation Commission and Planning Commissioner. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susie. Councilwoman Alcantara.
Sure. So my name is Elizabeth Alcantara. I currently serve on the Cudahy City Council, and have been serving as such for the past 5 years. Before that, I was involved on the Planning Commission, actually with Susie as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, my name is Tivina Quintana. I am a Cudahy native. I was also a former commissioner for Parks and Recreation, and now I'm the vice president of the Cudahy Youth Foundation.
Thank you, Tavina, for joining us. And Susie, can you tell us a little bit about the foundation and your work?
Okay, well, the foundation was established many years ago before Tavina and I came on board. And when we first started, we were commissioners, appointed commissioners for the Parks and Recreation. So we kind of worked together as we had like dual responsibilities as commissioners in the Parks and Recreation and also the Cudahy Youth Foundation. But then, you know, when COVID started, when the pandemic hit, it was like kind of hard to be able to do the work that we needed to do, which is to help families out. And in partnership with the City of Cudahy would provide the programs, the activities, and the Youth Foundation would come in and start to help out, like with the registration fees, to help families, and because sometimes, you know, our community is low income. So sometimes families can't have their kids in programs because of the fees. So it's like a financial burden for them. So that's where the Cudahy Youth Foundation comes in. We would help them out in that way. But like I said, you know, when the pandemic hit, it was kind of hard. So we had to explore other ways to be able to continue with that mission. And so now, with the Cudahy Youth Foundation. And so now we're just working on that and trying to focus mainly with the foundation. And, you know, we have more things coming up and, you know, a lot of things coming up. So you know, that's how we're doing it.
Awesome, thank you. Councilwoman, how has this partnership, or how did you get involved with this work?
Sure. So as Susie mentioned, the foundation has been around for a really long time. It served a great purpose when it was first started of subsidizing youth programs. As Susie mentioned, one of the biggest barriers is that our families, although the registration fees seem low, they may still be a barrier, especially if you have 3-4 kids. And so now that $20 is not $20 anymore, it is $60, $80, maybe even $100 if you have five kids under your household. And so this partnership started many years ago, kind of slowed down for several years as budget cuts came, programs were cut, and now as a city we're refunding programs, but that also means registration fees, and that's where the Cudahy Youth Foundation comes in. And I think that the CYF has done a really beautiful job of changing the way we do foundation work. It's not simply grant writing and fundraising, but it's fundraising with a purpose. It's fundraising through Christmas celebrations and senior celebrations and talking to families and pupusa fundraisers and all these different ways that, put a smile on our faces. And that isn't the typical grant writing work that I think a lot of foundations do.
And that's really interesting because I feel like you find different ways of wanting to fill the gaps, right? And how do you use your skills to actually do that? Davina, do you want to add anything else around some of these, projects and events that you all carry out?
Well, yeah, we do subsidize registration and things like that. But what we also have been doing with the money that we raise and, money that we seek out and just the resources that we get from former Cudahy residents, people that we went to school with, people that still support our city. We were able to do things like a turkey giveaway and a Thanksgiving meal giveaway, actually. Christmas events, presents. We've done space-saving desks. So we're trying to just fill the gaps of whatever our community needs. So whatever they need, that's what we're gonna try and accomplish.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah. And that's really interesting because I know that, as nonprofits, right, we have different strategies of how we fundraise, but it sounds you're very in touch with community, right, reaching out to individual donors. Yeah. I know I want to come back to you, Councilwoman, because I know you have also had your experience in the nonprofit sector. So how does that really how do you see that partnership being something that contributes to a community?
Right. I come from the nonprofit sector, specifically community education and immigration justice work. And so seeing that there are parallels, right? The organization that I work for is significantly larger, does a lot of grant writing work, but still also focuses on the very, like I would say, mom and pop ways of fundraising, membership drives, et cetera. And I think that that's where, the CYF does a really good job, is that a lot of the time we don't think about our communities as funders or participants in nonprofits, but the reality is that when you host a pupusa fundraiser, you are a funder as well. And so recognizing that is super important. I think that their approach is also very unique and very just supportive of the nonprofit structure. Is like, what is a need in the community? How do we target that? Davina briefly touched on it, but those space-saving desks were a huge collaboration. It was CYF. It was them partnering with different organizations that were building the desks and then bringing it in so that during COVID, kids that maybe had limited space still had a desk to work on, to put their tablet down, to go on Zoom, to really focus on their schoolwork. And that is just a huge lifesaver for a lot of the kids that were stressed about the very basic necessities.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know, Susie, for us, right, this is really that intersection, right, where it becomes civic engagement and how do you engage different partners. So can you tell us a little bit more about that kind of alignment?
Well, so, in my community, the way I started was by first starting to get involved in the election process by supporting candidates that are going to help our community, because that's where a lot of the decisions take place, right? So if we're not happy with the way our city is, then we need to start taking that step forward. But then it doesn't just stop there. It also continues, like, to seeing how else can you help out. Like, I remember when my kids were small, they were always involved in the programs that the city had at that time. The city at that time was very rich in sports and recreational activities, whereas now it isn't. So, but now we're starting to, I should say. There was a time where our city was just nothing to do. And that really frustrated me, because I wanted for other kids to have the same experience or similar experience as my kids did. So that's why I also started being involved, and then I was eventually appointed to the commissions, and then now I'm on the Youth Foundation, and I'm also involved in other community groups, right? But that's how we do it. It's like by giving back to the community. If you received something and you saw how good it was, then why not give back and try to make it even better? And so just being involved as much as you can.
Yeah. No, and that's powerful, because I think it's meeting the needs, right? You also understand because you've gone through those experiences. So how do you engage other community members to actually continue to have more resources here? Councilwoman, what does it mean for the city to partner with a nonprofit like CYF?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot of things. It means that we're able to find more families to reach. Many times, and we just had an example of that. We'll have an event or a turkey giveaway or an Easter basket giveaway, and we'll reach out to some of our partners to give us names, right? I can only reach so many people. And so we're able to partner with CYF on that account. As was mentioned, one of the key pieces is that civic engagement work is a pipeline, really. It works both ways, whether you're campaigning and doing that work, or going to city council meetings and speaking about your passionate issue, or participating at CYF and then maybe getting involved in those other avenues. And so I think that for us just builds a really strong network and community, where folks can they know they can reach out to Susie if they want to talk to me, or they know they can talk to me to reach to Susie. So there's this network that's built up because of CYF, because of all these different organizations that maybe are not nonprofits, but partner with nonprofits like CYF.
Yeah. And I love that, because I think that's how we connected. We connected with each of you, and then this is how we were able to put together this piece, right? One thing that you mentioned on Councilwoman that I wanted to elaborate on, if you can share a little more your thoughts there. You talked about attending meetings, but also getting involved. And I think oftentimes, right, when we talk about civic engagement, people automatically assume that's voting, right? And then so, can you share a little bit more about your perspective on what does it mean to be engaged in your community or civically engaged?
Right. I mean, for me, it was a similar story as Susie. I started getting involved and going to council meetings because I was a 19-year-old college student that realized I am not prepared for this. I did not have college access classes. I did not have a college counselor that was fully funded to support me in getting to college. And so I was frustrated, and I was sharing that frustration with my friends and saying, it's not fair that our communities are treated this way because we don't have the funding. I went to a city council meeting. I'm sure they remember probably so many years ago.
Together.
Now 11 years ago, and so started going to every council meeting just to kind of scope it out, see what it was about, and then speaking out and saying we need youth spaces, we need youth workshops, we need all these different programs that aren't given to us because, as was mentioned, at the time we didn't have anything. We didn't have festivals, we didn't have fairs, we didn't have sports programs, workshops. We were severely lacking, and so now that I think about it and think it's been 11 years of this, it feels like a long time, but it's been really great to meet new people and learn about everyone else's passions, right? It's not just mine, but it's how do I support Susie's, how do I support Tivina, how do I support all those other folks that are engaged with the CYF and seeing what civic engagement looks like. It's not just voting, it's not just going to a meeting because that's also very difficult, but it can be transporting the toys that we're going to give away, right, at a toy giveaway for kids. It can be making that phone call on behalf of Susie to make sure that the families get out to whatever event it may be.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. I know, Tivina, because you work so closely with community, right? What have you seen in terms of the community need?
Well, not only working with community, me myself, growing up in Cudahy, I know what we needed, and I was fortunate, like Susie said, we had sports, we had festivals, but now that I'm older and my daughter is growing up, we don't have those things. So, and that's the reason why I started, was because of my daughter. So, going through, it's the same needs that we needed. We need volunteers, we need, obviously we need funding. So, I have been good, and we have been good with reaching out to community and, former residents. Thank God they come back and they give back, but we need people who care about the community. I think that's the biggest need, is people that care about their community, what happens in their community, want to make a change, because we have a very dense population in our city, and you would think that we would have more people, and I know people work and, they have their lives, but I think that that's what we need. When we were younger and we had sports, the reason why we had so much sports is because our parents volunteered. They did snack bar, they coached, they refed, they did everything, and now we don't have that. So we need people who care. We need funding, and then our community needs, food banks. They need school supplies. We're in need of everything. Our population is, a lot of us live below the poverty line, so they need people who care.
Yeah, and I love that, because I think as we engage in these conversations with you all, right, I think one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we highlighted was that early on, when the collaborative did the first, research on nonprofit and really understanding who is in the Southeast, one of the things that we learned was that it was heavy volunteer-led organizations, right? And that's what you really represent. You need those volunteers to be able to do the work, right? So back to what you mentioned, Councilwoman, making those phone calls and getting people out to those events, it's part of that process of really kind of being engaged in the community. Susie, can you tell us a little bit more about how you ensure equity in the work that you do?
Okay, well, it's really hard to do, but we try our best to ensure that we're like equitable to our community, because we have limited resources. So like the things that were mentioned, especially the space saving desk, that was something that a lot of families not only wanted, but also needed. And unfortunately, we weren't able to provide very much because we have limited funding. We're a small nonprofit. It's mainly only 5 of us. And we do the fundraising ourselves. We're, like you said, we're volunteers. We have our own employment, our own jobs, but aside from that, we're volunteering. We're doing a lot of this volunteer work and also fundraising. And our main fundraiser is the 4th of July, having a 4th of July fireworks stand. And so that's our main fundraiser. So we have to limit our resources and try to spread it out and help the community in the different ways. So yes, we understand that there's a big need, but it's kind of hard to reach everybody. So we have forms filled out, and we have a process to ensure that the families that need need that specific item or opportunity that we're offering, that we're able to meet those. So we're trying.
And I know some of the work that we've also seen is your partnerships, right? You partner with other organizations.
Yeah. So part of that, yes, it's with partnerships, but at the same time, some of these partnerships, we can provide the funding and they provide the service, right? And so that's how we put it together. Also, the city of Cudahy has been helpful because we don't have space. We don't have an office space. We're volunteers, like I mentioned. So we try to focus the funding that it goes back to our community instead of spending it on maybe supplies, an office. So because right now we're not at that stage. Hopefully in the future we could be there. But the city does support us in providing us that space for when we have the events, like when we had the toy giveaway, the Christmas event, and we're having other events too, like the turkey giveaway, like was mentioned. So the city helps us in that way by supporting us and providing that space that we need.
Thank you for sharing that. Councilwoman, what do you hope other cities will learn about this type of partnerships between cities and nonprofits?
Yeah, I think it's about reaching out and really building that community network. I think for us it was a little bit easier because these are the folks that go to our council meetings anyway. They're going to be there. They're going to tell us what they want, and so it's a very clear, direct ask, right? But it's not always that way, and so we do have to do that work to reach out and build those community relationships. It also may mean partnering with the SELA Collaborative and building up a new nonprofit that maybe doesn't exist yet.
Awesome, thank you. Davina, what support does the foundation need moving forward? I know you shared a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we need community support, and actually this whole thing with SELA Collab is amazing because it gets our foundation out there, and I'm sure a lot of you guys never knew that we existed, or people that did know we existed didn't know the capacity, and they probably knew the old Cudahy Youth Foundation. So this is like a brand new Cudahy Youth Foundation. Our work is different. Our hustle is different. We reach out to more of the community because we are the community. So I think that we need people, like I said before, to care about your community. Even if you don't live here in Cudahy anymore, come back and help out because you're where you're at because of where you came from. So don't forget where you came from. And that's my whole thing. That's why I volunteer so much.
Thank you for sharing that. And we do want to just kind of ask all of you, what do you hope, right, that people will learn from this conversation and from the example that you're leading?
Well, as far as me, I hope that people will learn that being involved and having that open communication with our representatives at the local level, especially because that's where we're at, having that open communication with them and letting them know what we need, whether it's like housing, it's food, it's things for our kids, things for us too as adults, because that's something I also have been bringing up at our city councils. It's like, we're starting to have these programs for the kids, but you're leaving us adults out. And then there's also the programs for the seniors. But what about those middle people that are there? So just voicing your opinion, voicing your concerns at the city council meetings, or just having that communication with city staff, or even with our council and our mayor. So just like I said, communication is very important because if we don't let them know what we need, how are they going to be able to give us those needs or meet those needs and make the changes that we hope come?
So thank you. Same question to you, Councilwoman. What do you hope people will learn from this?
Sure. Civic engagement, involvement works. Telling us over and over again what you want absolutely works. As was mentioned, we didn't have programs before. We've been rebuilding the programs for the kids. We're now rebuilding the programs for adults and having adult basketball, adult volleyball, all those things because folks on the ground were the ones communicating that. We're from community too, but we're from one part of the community. We don't know what's missing on the other side, and so we need to hear from you, and that's where absolutely you should reach out to folks. Whoever is at the local level for you, please reach out to them and support them, provide them feedback, and some constructive criticism as well.
Awesome, thank you. Tamina? What are your thoughts?
So I just hope that people learn that they can make a difference, because a lot of people think that, you know, I'm just one person, what can I do? But when you get with a bunch of people like us that are also one person, you make a team, and that team changes a lot of things. So I think that youth and people that are not youth, any age, they can make a big difference, and they just need to get involved. Yeah. Get involved. If your city's little, if it's big, it doesn't matter, get involved in something.
And I love that, because I think even earlier you said, you know, sometimes we need people to take things, right? Like moving from one place to another. So I think that's part of, you know, meeting those basic needs, right? But also having that group of people and that network around you that can really support the effort. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And you're right, I think we learned so much even through putting together the piece, right, on your work, just about the work that you do. And I think the one thing we've always known is that those of us that work in the nonprofit sector do it because we're passionate about making a difference. And when we all come together, there's a bigger impact that we can have. So thank you for being here and for sharing your story and your feedback. And we so appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And this is a perfect segue, I think, to the next segment, which is really focusing on Vernon Community Fund in the Southeast churches. So one of the things that we know is that Vernon you know, has also been a funder of ours, right? And as I shared, the nonprofit capacity piece for us is critical. Early on, when the collaborative came together, the notion was that there was no one to fund here in the Southeast, right? And the more we share, the more we kind of highlight the work of different partners, the more we can really emphasize that there are a lot of nonprofits here in the Southeast, but as you heard, most of them need the support. Most of them are volunteer-led. So how do we make sure that we make those linkages so that we support them? So with that, I just want to thank you, and we want to segue into our next segment. And before we bring the panelists, we want to go ahead and show you this video about their work.
The city of Vernon is a vital economic engine here in SELA. It was founded in 1905 as an industrial city and is located just southeast of downtown Los Angeles. This city, consisting of just 5.2 square miles, houses more than 1,800 businesses that employ about 50,000 people. Because much of Vernon's workforce lives in the neighboring cities, the Vernon Community Fund program was created to provide grants to charitable and governmental entities for projects and programs that benefit those residing and working in SELA.
We want to affirm our ties with our neighboring communities in pursuit of bright futures by providing financial support for public services such as healthcare, housing, and education. Our mission is to strengthen families by improving their health, well-being, and quality of life here in SELA.
Twice a year, our grant committee of diverse volunteers review and approve applications from community and faith-based organizations, local governments, and high school seniors going to college who apply for the Vernon Community Fund Scholarship.
Some of our Vernon Community Fund goals are to support and assist organizations that expand opportunities for training and development of residents for potential employment in businesses located in SELA, and to promote effective and responsible leadership at every level of society.
Since its inception in 2014, the Vernon Community Fund has awarded nearly $5 million in grants to approximately 68 nonprofit organizations serving SELA communities. One of the nonprofits that we support in SELA is Southeast Churches Service Center.
Our nonprofit Southeast Churches, with the support from the Vernon Community Fund, provides assistance to individuals across the Southeast Los Angeles region and beyond.
We're a volunteer-based organization that began in San Matias Church in 1983, focused on helping individuals with economic hardship, such as providing food, transportation, and connecting people with the services they need.
This year, we're concentrating our efforts on providing families with utility and rental assistance. The Vernon Community Fund has been a crucial supporter to our program.
Volunteering for Southeast Churches has been a fulfilling and heartwarming experience for me. I am grateful I can help others, and I know supporting my neighborhood helps strengthen our community.
We are committed to investing in SELA's social safety net to serve SELA residents and strengthen, prioritize, support the existing nonprofits in SELA because they are a major source of civic and community engagement.
Our Vernon Community Fund program will continue to support SELA
by strengthening and building the capacity of nonprofit organizations
that provides services to our SELA communities.
If you want to learn more about the Vernon Community Fund program and scholarship, please visit our website at vernoncommunityfund.org. You can also discover more about SELA agenda at selacallab.org.
We hope you enjoyed that video, and we want to welcome our new panelists. So thank you for being here today. And this is an area, like I said, that is just very fundamental to who we are as a SELA collaborative. Nonprofit capacity is one of those pieces where our work really began, and really trying to support community, but also build the capacity of our partners to continue to do what they do in the Southeast. For those of you that have not read the SELA agenda, that's one of our policy areas, but really because we look at nonprofits as that social safety net for our community. Oftentimes, right, when we do research, what we hear from our community members is who they trust is nonprofits, right? And then so highlighting the importance of that and the importance of the work that Vernon is doing, it was critical to our process and in this campaign. So we want to start with just introductions. If Andy, if you want to start, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your work.
Thank you. My name is Andy Molina. I'm the Executive Director of the Southeast Churches Service Center. It's a nonprofit located in Huntington Park. We've been there for 40 years. I see myself as a community person involved with so many different entities through my young life and adult life. Always doing work for the betterment of our communities.
Awesome, thank you. Do you want to go ahead?
Of course. Hi, my name is Leticia Lopez, and I'm currently serving as the mayor of the city of Vernon. And in addition, I've been serving on the Vernon Community Fund Committee for June 2016.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
A few years. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Wilma. My name is Melissa Ibar. I'm from the city of Vernon, a council member. I'm born and raised in Vernon, so I've seen the development through Vernon and the help with the nonprofits. I'm currently sitting on the board of directors of Southeast Community Development Group, which is also a nonprofit that we service.
Right. Awesome, thank you. Andy, can you start with just telling us a little bit of your organization and what the work that you lead?
Sure. The Southeast Churches Service Center is been around for 40 years, established in 1983 out of the San Matthias Church, actually working out of a garage. So back then, the priest leader in our community then passed away a few years ago. He always looked at me and said, well, I knew it was coming. Andy, what do you think? So that's how long back we go to our communities, to our roots, not only in Huntington Park, but throughout the Southeast Churches. The Southeast Churches is a nonprofit organization, basically started as a food pantry. It grew back for many, many years. For the last 25 years, we grew it to service about 3,000 families a month, 5 days a week, about 150 homeless every day. And that was the work that we did for those 25 years. After 25 years to now, we switch because of lack of resources, funding, collaboration. Not blaming anybody, but things happen. So now we focus on assisting residents throughout the region with the utility assistance program and rental assistance as well through the Vernon Community Fund. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you. Mayor, can you tell us a little bit about the Vernon Community Fund?
The Vernon Community Fund was established to help SELA organizations, nonprofits, and Southeast Churches is only one of 68 different organizations that we've helped to strengthen the communities in our region and the families and the children.
And we're also funded by the fund as well, so thank you for that. Councilwoman, can you tell us a little bit more about these partnerships with nonprofits and how you see the impact there?
Well, the impact's great. We're able to help financially to each nonprofit, and with that, they're allowed to go out and get volunteers and get supplies and help the need of the community. So the financial support that we're able to do helps grow these nonprofits and outreach to outside of the cities that we're only covering.
What type of, and I know you've had the fund for a few years now, right? What kind of services do you see coming through in terms of requests?
Help growth in the city, financial to help with, especially right now with COVID, the COVID outreach, food, help with utilities and rental assistance, helping with the digital divide, helping with just a lot of like, you know, I can name all the organizations that we've been doing, but 68 nonprofit organizations in our area have been helped by us, and they're outgrowing and volunteering and working with each other to help the needs of the community. There's a lot of great need, especially after COVID.
Awesome, thank you. Andy, what has it meant to receive the support from the Vernon Community Fund, and how does that help your organization?
Well, for the last, I want to say 5 years, we've been blessed in a way that the Vernon looked at us as a nonprofit organization and look at the work that we've done, you know, servicing the community throughout the region. And really, without their assistance and their help, we wouldn't be able to help all those families in need with different many type of services. Although we don't do a lot of the food distribution anymore, we still do it as we get donations. We get people that, hey, I have a pallet of corn, a pallet of, we still do it. But the beauty of really being awarded as an organization a grant from the Vernon Community Fund, it has helped send a message out there. It doesn't matter how difficult times are. It doesn't matter how, you know, things you're struggling, the organization financially or otherwise. We switch gears. Mm-hmm. It's like a small business. We adapt to changes because we see the need. We hear the cry of the poor, and without the Vernon Community Fund, we wouldn't be able to continue.
Awesome, thank you for that. Mayor, can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of these partnerships and collaborations with nonprofits?
I think that it's very critical for our community to have these types of support because we've been able to help in different ways and different facets, like through tutoring, through youth sports, through rental assistance, food assistance. We try to gauge the community to see what is most needed. Like after COVID, one of the biggest things that we've seen is there's a lot of need for tutoring. Mm-hmm. A lot of children fell behind academically. So right now that's one of the focuses, is that we really want to have children be allowed tutoring and to have that resource.
Awesome. I know part of your fund also includes a scholarship piece, right? And I know you had shared that work with us. Can you elaborate on that piece as well?
Yes, so we do have also a scholarship fund that students in the SELA community are able to apply for. And we're very proud of it, and we want to continue that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Councilwoman, what does it mean for you to be able to support students through that scholarship fund?
Oh, it means a lot. These kids need it regardless. In our community, we see a lot of the seniors going into senior in high school going into college for the first time. You know, any dollar helps. I have 2 kids that are in college, and you know, we're looking at scholarships everywhere. And just to be able to help these kids gives us a chance to have them help pay back later on in the future. So whatever degree they go after, just remember they'll always come back home, and they can always volunteer and help and actually make a difference later on in life.
Thank you. How do you also see these partnerships helping support communities?
Oh, the partnership is great. I do see a lot of volunteers, money that we're able to help fund. Each nonprofit goes out. These volunteers are out there giving the community support, trying to bring communities together, trying to get them involved. Like the mayor mentioned, tutoring, our tutoring initiative is really great. Our scholarship is great, helping the nonprofits on helping each community member with food, with rental assistance, everything that's needed. So I do see giving help financially back to these nonprofits to help them grow.
So, my understanding is the community fund has a number of priority areas, right? And that ranges. I know the support that we received through through the fund, right, was really to continue to help build capacity. So that was really how we were able to do a lot of the marketing classes, like the coaching, grant writing support for the nonprofits that were able to participate. So thank you, because I think for that, that's where we saw the alignment and the opportunity to continue to help.
The major key point is not just to our youth, but also to the adults. It's getting them back into the workforce, and you have the training, job training, how to do the typing class, the digital divide, how to get them into searching on the internet, how to apply for jobs on the line, because everything nowadays is going online as well.
Yes. Also, Andy, what support does your organization need moving forward?
Well, it's like, excuse me, it's like any other nonprofit. As you know, we're always fundraising. We're always looking, how do we build the revenue coming in. I think for us is really thinking, and I'm thinking big. Get the interest of the region. Look at the nonprofit sector, and start a capital campaign. I think each of us do so many different things in our own ways and for our own purpose, but I think we're always lacking the funding, the resources of fundamental capacity to really make a bigger impact in our community because of that. A lot of times in a small nonprofits like ours, a grassroots organization, we do the labor, the work, the volunteering, and all that. But we also have bills to pay, overhead, So it's a matter of fact that we need to, that some of in our nonprofit, there's people, they still help the center, the Southeast Churches Center financially with donations every other month, every 6 months, once a year. But all that, the pandemic has affected everybody, not only businesses, government, individuals. So all that has gone away, So now if we set up our minds and through SELA and other organizations and government, do a capital campaign to really support more organizations and then work as a hub throughout the region.
Can I ask you, Andy, is your organization volunteer-led? Is it a lot more volunteers than the staff?
Well, yeah, we're all volunteers. Right now, from, I don't know, a couple of years from now, nobody gets paid because of the lack of funding resources. Yeah, like I mentioned, the events, the things that we used to do, the Walk for Hunger, all that type of thing, the fireworks, all that has gone away. So volunteers, we used to depend on volunteers. We still do, but at a smaller scale. Because I'll just share a quick story. I don't know if we have the time, but I can go on and on. Back when we used to service 3,000 families a month with the food distribution program, and I'll go faster, we collaborated with the LA Unified School District, where we set up a partnership with all the local schools throughout the region. And that idea and that effort came out of Jaime Escalante Elementary in Cudahy. 2 5th graders or 6th graders keep pounding on the principal, we waste a lot of food, and so forth. So the mayor back then got a hold of us, and we started a massive campaign. So it was a labor-intense campaign to pick up all their after lunch food and things like that. We could feed the whole region with that. So we provided the containers, the routes, we did all the work, we organized it, and it was very effective because not only our families, but also the homeless population was able to get good, healthy meals every day. Yeah. So anyways, I get back.
No, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it speaks to just really being creative, right, in the way that you partner, in the way that you work with other entities in the region. But also, what we had shared even with the previous segment, right, like a lot of our organizations here are volunteer-led. And it's a lot of labor, right, a lot of work. But it comes from that desire for us to really meet those basic needs that we see our communities are needed. And on that note, Mayor, what are some of these needs that you see in the Southeast, both as community member, but also as an elected official?
I think it's really important that we continue to spread the word of like stories that he just, gave, just to let people know like what they can do, because we definitely need funding. We need volunteers. We need people to advocate. And I think that that's where we can grow to continue to have these organizations and allow them to support the families and the community.
Awesome, thank you. Councilwoman, what impact have you seen in the community from the efforts that you all have led?
Great impact. I mean, you have more tutoring out there for students who want to go out and help and improve in the grades. We have the scholarship fund that we've seen a lot of kids, recipients from it going to big schools, big universities. It isn't just small Cal States, it's all universities out of state as well, which the financial need is. And my hope is for them to come back and volunteer and help with the nonprofits. Just the growth of these nonprofits as well, to see them being able to do more outreach and get the capacity out there and get the volunteers out there and really push for their words and what their missions are and helping to accomplish that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think we do have one last question for everybody. What do you hope people walk away from today's conversation?
I think the main message will be here today. This is a great venue to get the word out, because a lot of community people in general, businesses and entities, they don't know about us, about the nonprofits, about the good work that the cities are doing, like Vernon and other cities. This is a perfect setting to cover a lot of ground. So, I mean, I guess we can do this ongoing, but it's impossible because this is just a glimpse of the opportunities, and now is looking to a better and brighter future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mayor.
I think the biggest takeaway is that as a whole community working together, we can really accomplish a lot.
No, thank you for that. Councilwoman.
Just a reminder that Vernon's committed to the nonprofits and to our area, our southeast area, as well as our neighboring cities. The council itself is committed. We're not just from Vernon. I'm born in Vernon, but everything happened in Huntington Park, in Bell, Cudahy, Maywood, all the way down. And if you look at the mix of the council, they're from the surrounding areas as well. So giving back to the community is really great, and that's our #1 need.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. I know this has been a journey, and we appreciate you being so willing to share your story, but also highlight some of the work that has taken place. So as I share, for us, it's just incredible to be able to share this, because we wanted to be mindful, right, that there's larger organizations, but there's also very smaller organizations that also need that support. So I think for us, as we continue this work, right, it's like, how do we continue to collaborate and build those partners, but also through the efforts that, the collaborative and trying to build the capacity, like, what do we learn, right? Because I know from our perspective, right, and I'm sure you've experienced this, there's different organizations have different needs, but they also have different capacities. So meeting everybody where they are, I think sometimes what's a little challenging, and we've experienced that through the work that we've done. But this is the space where we really want to highlight that work and honor your contributions and your work in doing this for the Southeast region. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited because I think this is one of the pieces that we definitely wanted to highlight in terms of the different capacity, right? And the more we share these stories, the more we want to just elevate the need, the importance of working together. As you hear a lot of the panelists always share, right? Like coming together as leaders increases our ability to have a bigger impact in the Southeast. And part of it is also, it doesn't take, a lot for community members to get involved, right? Like if you have time time to be able to help, you know, any of these organizations, we would encourage you to do so. And we want to thank everybody for joining us today. We also want to thank our sponsor, who this work would not be possible without, and that's Ali from Optimum Seismic. And we wanted you to learn a little bit more about who they are. So we want to show you this video.
Optimum Seismic Incorporated, a leading commercial construction company, provides high-quality structural engineering, steel fabrication, and construction services for multifamily and commercial buildings. Our tradition of service is built on value engineering, a systematic method of achieving the best combination of functionality, safety, and cost-effectiveness. If you want the finest engineering and construction solutions for your earthquake retrofit, renovation, or change of use project, choose Optimum Seismic.
So a huge thank you to Ali and his team for their continuous support of our efforts, but also in really kind of allowing us to lead the effort and believing in the work. I know one of the things that we said to Ali was the importance of investing in the Southeast and in the leaders that exist here, which is a lot of what we hear from our SELA leaders, right? So with that, just a huge shout out and a plug for our final live event, which will be taking place next month. So you'll want to join us. Well, hopefully you can join us for that one as we wrap up our campaign. But also, I want to thank our media partner, Night Flare, for their work and their commitment to really putting this campaign together. And of course, our SELA team. Without them, we would not be able to do any of this work. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a great weekend.